Hello, Warriors, and welcome once more to the Warriors Den. We have got a lot to talk about today, but first off, Year 6, Season 2, Curse of the Scarab, starting on June 16th. Chat's got to be going crazy right now.
I'm going crazy internally. I got to be professional right now. We're doing a show, so I got to maintain the composure, but whew.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. I'm so ready for it. But before we get into all of the details, we've got some things dropping on Twitch for you. Josh, do you want to tell us what the Twitch is dropping?
I will tell the people what the Twitch is dropping, or we're dropping via Twitch. But make sure that your Ubisoft and your Twitch accounts are linked before, all drops are dropped. So this is what you can be expecting today. So for every 30 minutes of accumulated viewing time, you will receive one scavenger crate, and every 30 minutes after that, you have a chance to win 100,000 steel. And if you've been kind of keeping up with what we've been doing this year, we've been doing hero skins. Last season, we did one for Warden, the Lord Ramiel. This time, we are doing one for Raider, the Bolt Horn, the Cursed hero skin. It looks utterly amazing. When I saw the key art, I was just like, that's a beefy boy. That's actually not bad. So
he is a beefy boy.
You'll have a chance to win that as well. So keep an eye out on your Twitch notifications.
All right, we got a lot of details coming up for you today on Year 6, Season 2. But first, we're really excited to announce that we've been working really hard on a Year 1 to Year 5 lore video with Era DeLupi, who those of you in the lore community may know very well as the artist Menacide. Who you hopefully have seen as well. They do a lot of For Honor fan art and whatnot, and very talented. And we really wanted to make this as kind of a catch up, or the story so far, previously on For Honor, so that those of you who maybe don't pay a lot of attention to the lore or have been in and out of the game can just get caught up in in one go. So we worked with Estrella's voice actress on this. She did an amazing job. It was awesome to work with her. And we want to give you guys a little taste of that right now, but stick around after the Warriors Den, because we're going to show you the whole video. So here's just the first little snippet of it, and then we'll get into Year 6 Season 2 details. Check it out.
Acolytes of Horkos! Today, your new life in the Order begins. But before you are sent on your path, let me remind you of our shared history and of why we fight. It all began over 1,000 years ago. A great cataclysm destroyed the world as people knew it. It was a miracle that anyone survived. 3 factions arrived on the continent, searching for a new beginning.
I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, stick around after the show to see the whole video. It was really awesome to work with both Era DeLupi and Menacide on that. But let's get into Year 6 Season 2. And what a better way to do that than with a trailer. So check out the Year 6 Season 2 trailer right here.
In a far corner of the world, legends speak of a bracelet passed down from one pharaoh to the next. It was said the bracelet could restore life, erased from history, faded from memory. Now, I have found it. With the bracelet, I bring glory to Valkenheim once more. Yet in its wake, darkness spreads. What have I unleashed?
Warriors, the curse of the scarab is here. It is upon us. Plagues, locusts, frogs. There are frogs. You'll see. But yes, welcome to Year 6 Season 2. There is a ton that we want to talk about this season, a lot to get through. And to talk about it, we have a wonderful panel of awesome people from the For Honor team. First up, we have Stefan, as you all know, Ian, as you also know. But we have a new member of the Warriors Den today. Anastasia is joining us for the first time. Anastasia, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm really happy.
Super excited to have you. Very excited for you to talk about what you're here for. Ian, how are you doing? Welcome.
I'm great, Josh. I'm glad to be back. It's always fun to be part of these seasonal launches.
They are always like the most like dense with stuff because we're dropping so many awesome things. But Stefan, also you're a veteran of the Warriors Den. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm Year 6 Season 2, Curse of the Scarab. I'm super excited to be here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. As I said, we've got a ton to get through. We are kind of doing just the typical what we do for our seasons, breaking up in a TU1 and a TU2. Lots in both. So, Stefan, why don't you go ahead and kick us off to talk about what we can expect in these title updates?
Absolutely. Can't wait to talk about the whole rundown. Basically, here in the season, we're going to get to bring you a little bit of Egyptian flavor to the world of For Honor. This is going to be a really exciting season to find out a bit more about the Egyptian culture. We're going to meet an amazing hero later in the season. We're going to start off with a hero skin at the start of the season. That's going to be amazing. There's a super fun event in there, and there's a whole bunch of other great stuff throughout. So I can't wait to really go through the whole rundown.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it.
Perfect. From the top, let's hit it. Title update 1. We've got a launch event, Justice of the Pharaohs. The curse of the season will be in full effect here. All your minions, they're going to be dead. They're going to be gone. If you like pure skill in your gameplay, you get to do a clean 4v4 here. It's going to be awesome. Battle Pass features awesome Egyptian content. If you're a fan of Anubis, you are going to be very happy. Hero skin. Everybody's a fan of Anubis, so
have to
yes, it's mandatory. So enjoy. Hero skin, Bolthorn the Cursed. The rest of the team is going to talk about this a little later on. It's going to be a raider. It looks tremendously awesome. It's super cool. What else we got? Hero skin. I said hero skin. There's so much stuff. I've lost in my list. Testing grounds. Sorry. Yes, thank you. June 30th. So this is the third week of the event, the Justice of the Pharaohs. It's going to overlap a little bit, but that's going to be great. You're going to have more to play. It'll be a gameplay system improvement testing ground focused on allowing you to attack even more safely, especially when you're in a 1v2 situation, which is super dangerous to attack in today. The game designer is going to tell you a little bit more about that later on, and it's going to be awesome.
The hints.
Oh, yeah.
The hints.
But you're going to get all the details later in the show, so don't worry. Title update 2. We've got new armor, new hero. Oh, man, we're starting with a new hero. All right. This hero is going to be super fun to play, super fun to watch. I know people are already trying to guess the hero and the weapon. Good luck with them. I predict that no one is going to guess it exactly right because there's a twist that you will not expect.
You're coming through with all the hints today.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna get talked to after this. I think for too much. Sorry.
Excuse me.
Exactly.
Excuse me.
Stefan, no leaking. Sorry. I want you to note here. The next heroes will have one body type, and they will have 2 armor sets. So just bear that in mind. But I think once you get to play this hero, you're going to be happy no matter what. So. No sweat. More on this hero as we get closer to title update 2. Other than that, armor variations, these are coming into TU2. They're going to be sick. We've got the Covenant Games Horror Code Masquerade. This is a recurring event, and it's going to be back and awesome. Battle of the Eclipse throwback event is also going to come back as a throwback. So you're going to have event all through the season to play. It's going to be super cool. And then Hero Fest. If you aren't familiar with the Hero Fest, it's our opportunity to have hero playable, hero available at a discount. You get login rewards for logging in during that time, and we get to release a unique execution for the one hero of that week. So this is a great avenue for us to do awesome stuff there.
Yeah, I love the Hero Fest. We have, as you said, we have quite a few planned, and they're awesome. So very excited for that. But let's talk about Curse of the Scarab. So we are kind of taking a lot of inspiration from Egyptian culture and lore, and we're bringing that into Heathmore. So we're bringing that stuff to where our heroes reside. So let's talk about that. What was the inspiration behind bringing Egypt to Heathmore?
So thank you for the question. The great kind of aspect of the Outlanders to us on the team is that it really allows us to explore different cultures from the whole world. We spent a lot of time being very in-depth on knights, Vikings, the Wulin, and samurai. And now we have a chance with the Outlanders to kind of touch on a lot of different cultures. So we want to really start exploring that with the Egyptian culture. If you could go anywhere in the world, see any feats, any amazing stuff, go into catacombs or learn about their history and culture. I think Egypt is at the top of a lot of different people's lists, and so we get to pull that off here. So I can't wait to share that with you. And then kind of one aspect of it with us on For Honor is we really want to be inspired by and deeply respect the cultures we research and bring to the game. And one thing we've always had in mind is that our world is believable, but not purely realistic. As you know, knights, Vikings, and samurai probably didn't meet in battle too many times. So, the perfect accuracy is not possible no matter what, but we want to respect the real cultures and the real history and then interpret that in the world of For Honor. And here we're going to get to start that off with the Egyptian culture. So can't wait.
Yeah, and everything that I have seen and that we're going to see throughout the show, absolutely brilliant. But let's kind of dive into the narrative aspect of Curse of the Scarab and kind of talk about how even like the hero skin bolt on the curse plays into that. So Ian, why don't you go ahead and walk us through the narrative aspect of the season?
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk narrative. As Stefan just mentioned, Year 6 Season 2 introduces our next hero skin. This time we unveil the hero skin for the Raider, which introduces us to a character we called Bolthorn the Cursed. Now, who is Bolthorn? Who is that guy? He is a Viking who's grown tired, honestly, of his people's plights. As we all know, like in the world of Heathmore, there's constant natural disasters, there's ceaseless wars, endless bloodshed. Like it's a tough living in Heathmore, and Bolthorn feels like his people need a win, and to do that, well, he ventures outside of Heathmore, outside of like known territories, and he goes further than anyone's ever gone before, in search of something that hopefully will help his people thrive. And in the deserts far west, he finds what he needs in the ruins of an old Egyptian temple. Now, in the world of For Honor, the Kingdom of Egypt thrived a long time ago. But like so many other things, it was destroyed during the Cataclysm. And now there's nothing but ruins left. And it's while exploring these ruins that Bolthorn briefly crosses paths with, insert italics, a mysterious stranger, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, who tells him all about a magical relic known as the Scarab Bracelet. And, seeing an opportunity, like his opportunity, what he's been looking for, Bolthorn betrays the stranger's trust, and he steals a bracelet for himself. And he brings it back home, hoping that, he'll be able to do what he set out to do, which is help his people thrive. But what he does in actuality is trigger a terrible, terrible curse on himself, but also on all of Heathmore. So once again, you'll be able to read Bolthorn's story in the next installment of our Tales from the World of Heathmore short story series. We did a story for Lord Ramiel back in Year 6 Season 1, and this time we'll again have a 3-part short story that tells Bullthorn's story. The only difference is this time it will be released weekly. Last season it was a bi-weekly release, but this time the 3-part short story will be released weekly starting Friday, June 17th. And there's a lot of in there. There's a lot of hints and details that players won't want to miss.
That's awesome. See, like Bullthorn looks so cool, but Tisk, so selfish. You're gonna take the thing that you found, and now look what you've done. You've cursed us all.
You
fool.
They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
True that. But let's continue talking about Bullthorn the Curse, and welcome Anastasia again, who is joining us for the first time today, and then kind of talk about the kind of artistic direction of Bullthorn. You know, obviously he has this bracelet, he's cursed, and this is reflected on himself. So Anastasia, why don't you go ahead and talk to us about the inspiration behind this?
Oh, yep, sure. As you just heard from Ian, Bullthorn stole this wonderful, beautiful bracelet to bring the glory back to Heathmore. But instead of that, he brought down a curse on himself and on his lands. So stolen bracelet is locked very tight on his left wrist, and we can see how the curse is spreading, slowly corrupting not only his body but also his soul. You can see the beautiful moving patterns that lives on his skin. For the skin, we used desaturated colors to emphasize the current condition. It's almost undead, and it's a mix of dry dark rock and the mummified skin. So the background story of Bullthorn is that he was once captured as a prisoner, and not long ago he escaped captivity, and as you can see, he still have the cuff on his neck and on his wrist. And also he have this ancient chains that he carries on his belt. Our amazing team worked really, really hard on this character, and I'm super happy to present you this character finally.
Yeah, he looks so cool, and I say this a lot, but like just the details that the team like puts on, you know, the maps, the heroes, the weapons, like everything like that. It's all super impressive from like, you know, my perspective, kind of seeing everybody work. So round of applause to the team. I don't know if I'm the only one clapping, but that's okay. Round of applause to the team. It looked absolutely brilliant. And Anastasia, thank you so much for coming on to talk about that. But Anastasia, you are actually going to be staying on, and we are going to be saying goodbye to Stefan and Ian. So, fellas, thank you so much for coming on to talk about Year 6 Season 2. We've covered a lot of stuff so far, but we got more to go through.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the show.
We will do. See ya. Let's keep the Curse of the Scarab train rolling by introducing Julien, along with Anastasia and myself. Julien, welcome to the den, my man. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Josh? I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. And of course, as I mentioned, Anastasia is joining us from the previous portion of this segment. But let's go ahead and continue on with you and talk about the mood board and the artistic direction and inspiration for this season for Curse of the Scarab. So talk us through what the team was kind of looking at to bring this season to life.
Yeah, sure. So this year is the year of Relic. And as you remember, the main theme of our first season of the year was Golden Age. And it was very classic fantasy with elves and wyverns, etc., etc. So in the season 2, players will experience a slightly different type of fantasy. It's Egyptian fantasy. Here we highlighted 3 main themes. It's curse, adventures, and Egyptian. Visually, Egyptian culture is very beautiful and very appealing, and in this season, we had a great opportunity to use all these beautiful saturated colors, unique patterns, and engravings. As for the overall mood, we wanted to bring to this season the heat and dryness of the desert, which is completely different from the previous season. To introduce the curse, we used elements like blood water, frog rain, and swarms of locusts. And of course, the Egyptian fantasy wouldn't be full without mummies and pyramids and Egyptian gods.
And frogs as well. Frog rain, in fact. Which is always something. It's the frog raid always looks really, really interesting, and I find it's really funny. But Julien, let's go ahead and talk to you about what we can expect in game. We're talk about the in-game realization. We've got a new menu, we've got a new face-off, all types of stuff. So let's walk through that and talk about what players can expect when they boot the game up on June 16th.
Yeah, sounds good. So from an in-game realization standpoint, Season 22 is all about joining the raider on his adventure. So the theme that the team developed is a testament to journeying to a distant and unknown land, going through a trial and having to choose between friendship or glory and prosperity, and paying the ultimate and unforeseen price for it. Aesthetically, this means that the team has produced or has created a contrast that opposes the beauty and the excitement of adventure with the darker side of betrayal and the consequences that betrayal brings. So in the map, narratively, Riverfort has a tie-in into the Raider story. It's where he would have first landed on his way back from his adventure, so kind of making it the ground zero for the Cursed. So it's where the team decided to focus on map-wise. So coming back to the contrast I was mentioning, it was important not to create a gloomy ambiance, which would just lessen the visual impact of the curse elements. This is why in the map we have daytime complemented with rich Egyptian patterns and warm saturated colors. There's looted Egyptian treasures that are peppered across the map, and you might even get a glimpse of the golden scarab relic itself. So all this said, Josh, you're walking around the map, and then it hits you.
Frog hits me?
Literally, it hits you. Frogs are falling from the heavens, and then you turn around and the seas have turned to red. Crops have gone bad, and our beloved minions have all perished.
R.I.P. Poor minions. I wonder.
Poor minions.
They probably got hit by a frog. Honestly, pretty sure that's exactly what happened. But
amphibian rain, it'll do that to you.
Amphibian rain. And that doesn't happen anywhere, I don't think, unless there's like a remote part of the world that we have yet to discover that has frog rain. It's just like recycles. I don't know what I'm talking about. But Anastasia, let's go ahead and move on back over to you to talk about the battle pass that we are also launching with Curse of the Scarab. A ton of awesome stuff in it. We've got mood effects, we've got ornaments, we have signatures, execution, and the execution especially is chef's kiss. So walk us through this. What can we expect in the battle pass this season?
So in this season, we wanted to combine this adventurous mood with ancient Egypt and the feeling of danger that Bolthon brought into his land. The theme is the curse pervades the entire season. And to emphasize this, in some mood effects, we use dark and vivid colors, glowing patterns, and swarms of locusts that are like flying around, and the elements like cursed souls, dust, and sand that swirls around the character are also used in this season to emphasize this cursed theme that we wanted to bring. Also, you see this beautiful Egyptian head replacement, the Anubis that it inspires. So for the battle outfit design, we used this beautiful saturated and vivid colors and patterns, Egyptian elements like mythological creatures of the Egypt and Egyptian gods. And for ornaments, when we were creating it, we were inspired by traditional Egyptian jewelry. There were used materials like gold, stones, and glazed ceramic, which looks pretty awesome.
I like anything that's Anubis inspired, but this is this execution I was talking about. This is brilliant.
This is the best part. So basically, you are stealing the soul of your defeated enemy and keeping it in the small box.
He's gonna keep it for yourself. It's mine now. I'll take that. That's funny, but this the signature here is probably
looks
Probably one of my favorite ones, just because, again, Egyptian lore, busting out a sarcophagus is kind of like a little symbolic thing, so it looks really cool to have this in the game.
Yeah, agree. And for the weapon design, it also was inspired by ancient Egyptian weapons and jewelries. And to make it different from the previous weapons from the previous seasons, we used like very unique patterns and cravings and elements. And in this season, our players will get a lot of beautifully ornated weapons with lots of Egyptian elements like scarabs, mummies, and Egyptian gods. Yeah, and this is all what I can share with you for now.
Ooh, for now. No, this is all awesome. I'm super excited for like everyone to get a chance to earn stuff in the battle pass, because again, the Egyptian I was gonna say it, like Assassin's Creed Origins, my favorite like Assassin's Creed game because of the the Egyptian lore. So like it's fun to have that in For Honor as well. But Julien, Anastasia, thank you so much for coming on the show to talk about Year 6 Season 2. Julien, you are actually sticking around, but I also want to say thank you to Stefan and Ian, who joined us earlier on in the segment to talk about Curse of the Scarab. But we are going to roll the Battle Pass weapons video right now, so you can check them out and see what you can expect in the Battle Pass. But don't go anywhere, because Julien and I are going to be going over the seasonal event, Justice of the Pharaohs. So we'll be right back. Warriors, welcome back to the Den. We are here to talk about the seasonal event that's launching with Curse of the Scarab. Justice of the Pharaohs, and who better to talk about it with us than Julien? So welcome back to the Den. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me, Josh. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. So the seasonal event will go from June 16th all the way through July 7th. So that is a 3-week period that you will have time to play the event, to earn your rewards in the free event pass, which we will cover later on in the segment. But to start off, Julien, let's go ahead and set the stage for this seasonal event. What is it? What are we doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the seasonal event, we're going to have a new game mode variation of Dominion. With 3 capture points. So the lane and the minions have been replaced by a regular capture point, but otherwise the standard Dominion rules stand. Since Dominion is a greatly appreciated game mode by the community, the team wanted to give it a little twist and turn up a notch, essentially. So the idea is to create a bare bone, slightly more competitive version of Dominion. And transforming the lane into a capture point is really going to shift the dynamic of the game mode. Rotations and control of the capture points will become a lot more important than boosting. And one final thing worth mentioning, Josh, is that without the minions, the gameplay in the central capture point really intensifies. During our play sessions, the team got into some really epic and deadly team fights. So it's going to be an awesome experience.
Yeah, I'm just excited for like the mosh pit of bodies in what used to be the mid lane, just battling over that point. I'm gonna put out a request right now. Can somebody just like play the game mode, make an edit, just throw some heavy music over it? There's just like a bunch, like that would just make me very happy. So I'm just gonna.
That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea, Josh.
That was the sole reason for this seasonal event, just for that. But as I mentioned earlier in the segment, we are doing a free event pass with Justice of the Pharaohs. It's gonna come with mood effect, battle outfit, all types of stuff, and we're gonna show you that now. So Julien, let's go ahead and go through it and kind of show people what they can expect in the free event pass.
Absolutely. So for the event pass, we're staying true to the theme and adventure and mystery, and also keeping in mind the direction presented earlier on by Anastasia. So the aesthetics of the season event pass is going to be inspired by rich Egyptian culture, so gods, mythology, creatures, unique Egyptian patterns and saturated colors, and of course sacred elements like the scarab and hieroglyphs. So to start off, we have the mood effect. What you're seeing on screen essentially is represents souls that are trapped and moving around the Shaolin. And this is reminiscent of the Raider's curse and how it has corrupted his own soul. Next up, we've got the battle outfit. And the battle outfit is really putting forward the seasonal colors and patterns. So lots of details, warm tones and textures. This is almost luxurious. So it's really beautiful, and great job to the team for their amazing work on this. Really cool content.
Absolutely.
We've got the ornament, of course. With the ornament, you can see that it's essentially covered in gold. You can rarely go wrong with gold. Even less so, Josh, when you've got Cobras involved. So, so we're definitely got a cool ornament here, and on top, the top portion you can see like the skull portion. That's to symbolize once again the consequences of the curse, and we've also added patterns that are really popular when depicting a pharaoh. So it's an elegant piece, and it's really something to add to your outfit.
Yeah, I do love gold, and I do love Cobras. Thank you.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
I know people actually.
Finally, what you're seeing on screen, we've got some weapons. The weapons, again, we're really honing down on the vibrant colors, and we got some really nice detailing. Namely, on this blade right now, what you're seeing is you got a scarab that's near the guard. So really cool, fine details. For Nusha, Nusha's really happy to be showing her weapons right now. On her blade, she's got some hieroglyphs that are engraved on the blade. So all in all, super nice detailing going on here.
Yeah, as someone who doesn't design games or do that type of stuff, it's really impressive just seeing like the little small intricate details that are put in to make something feel real and alive and tangible. Like that for me, that's just super cool. So hats off to the team for doing that. I don't even want to know how long that took.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, like, congrats to the entire team. Like, there's amazing work that went into this, and I think the end result is going to be really, really cool, and players are going to enjoy.
I fully agree. So so just to kind of like wrap up and just clarify just more details, if you're just joining us, we are doing a seasonal event called Justice of the Pharaohs, running from June 16th all the way through July 7th. 3 weeks, 3 weeks to play, 3 weeks to get your free rewards and your event pass. You can have a mosh pit in mid lane, or not really mid lane for this seasonal event, but either way, it's gonna be.
I say do it.
Do it, please. Julian, thank you so much for coming on to talk about the seasonal event. We are going to roll our free event weapons video, and then we'll be right back with JC to talk about the testing grounds, which I know you're all excited about. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Warriors, welcome back to the Den. It is testing grounds time, and who better to talk about it with us than fan favorite JC. JC, welcome to the Den. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Yourself?
I'm doing very, very well. So yes, we're going to be talking about testing grounds today. We are going to be having a testing grounds that's going live from June 30th to July 7th. But before we get to that, we do want to give everyone a fight update to let everyone know what will be dropping on June 16th with launch of Curse of the Scarab. And to start off, we actually have some changes to Pirate that we're going to be launching with the season. So JC, let's start off with that. And what can you tell us about the Pirate changes?
Yeah, so we've been doing we did a couple of changes to Pirate. Basically, we've been looking a lot at what we have with the community, with a lot of different sources from feedback, and we get that like the character might be a little bit hard to play against sometimes, depending on your skill level or whatever. So we've been doing some changes. It doesn't mean that these changes are going to be the only changes we'll do to Pirate. There might be more incoming in a little bit, like depending on how it works. But the idea right now is that we want to lower her effectiveness a little bit. Make sure she's still good. She works quite well, and she fits the role that we really wanted her to have. But there's some things that were a little bit a bit too strong. So we changed a couple of things. So first of all, her side dodge attacks are now 600 MS, up from 533. We find that usually the dodge attacks that are 533 are a bit harder to parry. And at 6, it's generally much easier. So the idea is that right now with this, you can like heavy feint and then really bait pirates who are super dodge happy and be able to parry those dodge attacks a bit easier, a bit more effectively. So that should really help fighting against pirate a little bit. On top of that, we have Pistol Blast, so the after block and miss version. It now moves forward less. It moves forward less like a 0.5 meters. So the idea here is that we really like that Pirate can alternate between like heavies and gunshots, pistol blasts in a group fight and really alternate into which targets and do that sort of stuff. But the range on it was a bit too long. She was able to catch people that are really, really far away. So now like she still can catch people, but she goes a little bit less far. It's noticeable in group fights. So sometimes you might have to dodge cancel to dodge forward heavy, for example, but then that has its own other risks to it. So there's that change there works a little bit better. We're hoping that, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that like it makes Pirate like almost like less aggressive, because like when you have like be able to kind of move forward after that moves so far, it makes you feel like a lot more aggressive. So that's a really cool change. I like that.
Yeah, that's good. And we've really noticed it while we were playing internally. Like we could really feel the distance change, so that worked quite well. And then we have Walk the Plank. So there's 4 changes to Walk the Plank. First of all, it has less range, so you can actually, it's going to be a little bit harder to gank people with it. You're not going to go, really, really far across the map on it, so it makes a big difference there. We've also lowered the knee recovery. So basically, when you land a Walk the Plank and you don't do the pistol blast or dodge cancel follow-up, you have a pirate doing a knee on the opponent. And so making it 200 MS slower basically ends up making sure that we can't do repeated comboed walk the plank into a backstep glide into another walk the plank when you're at the right distance from a wall, right? So that was one of the bigger problems that Pirate has, especially in 1v1s, where she could combo and chain them together for a lot of damage. So we really wanted to change that aspect. So with that recovery being a little bit slower, that normally cannot happen anymore. So it really lowers her effectiveness for that a little bit. I've seen a lot of complaints about this again on a lot of feedback on social media, so that should really help out. Yeah, and then finally we have 2 changes to Pistol Blast from Walk the Plank. So first off, it's a little bug fix. It used to cost 15 stamina, now it costs 6. That's the correct number for comboed hits in these cases. So that way, Pirate has a little bit better stamina consumption when using Walk the Plank. That might seem a little bit weird to buff that aspect, but it's to make it in line with the rest of the rules that we have everywhere else, and also is in line with the Pistol Blast when you get guaranteed after a heavy. But we've also increased the revenge it feeds from 5 to 30. So that should make Walk the Plank and the Pistol Blast from it a lot less effective in ganks, because you're feeding revenge much, much more, 6 times more revenge when you do a Pistol Blast now than from before. So that should really help lower the effectiveness of Pirate's ganks a little bit, and make sure that your opponents can actually pop revenge, and it's harder to do 100 to 0 ganks with her in those types of situations. That's pretty much it for Pirate. Then we have, I think, Bloodlust, right?
Bloodlust time. Now, explain what we are doing to Bloodlust here, because I'm seeing a lot of different percentages, and explain this to someone who doesn't develop games.
Yeah, right. So the way it works at Bloodlust is a tier 2 feat that's on a couple of characters. It's not necessarily highly problematic, but the problem that we have generally with it is that the attack power, especially, stacks with feats. And so on Pirate and on Valkyrie also, you could land Bloodlust on somebody and then use Pirate's tier 3 feat, deal a bunch of damage, like use Trick Shot, deal a bunch of damage to 3 targets, and when it was plus 50% power, attack power, you'd be close to like one-shotting a bunch of people. That was way too strong. For a tier 2 feat, it was really, really, really powerful. And the damage reduction too was a bit too strong. So what we've decided to do is we're lowering the bonus you get from Bloodlust. So Bloodlust triggers when you kill an opponent, whether it's like with an execution or whatever, and it gives you those bonuses for 10 seconds. But we've changed the percentage from 50% for both attack power and damage reduction to 20%. So you still have an impact. They're still good. You still do feel the change, but it's not as strong as it used to be. But to compensate, we've also lowered the cooldown. So normally, whenever you killed somebody, it couldn't re-trigger for 30 seconds. Now that's down to 20 seconds. So you should be able to trigger it a little bit more often, get a little bit more like of that power more often, but at the same time not be extremely strong for those 10 seconds whenever you kill somebody. And when you were in group fights, that was it really, really, really showed. It made a big difference. So with this, it's still useful, but it's more in line with other tier 2 feats.
Kind of just like better in short bursts and stuff like that instead of just
exactly.
Like,
yeah. And so now we're gonna have Conqueror and Shaolin revamps.
Ooh. Now I believe we're actually doing a video for this. That you recorded, JC, right?
Yeah, so I recorded with those videos with Francis, who some of you might be familiar with on a Warriors End. So a really big thanks to him. And Max, I guess you can share the videos now.
We'll be back.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Conqueror and Shaolin showcases. So we're going to start with Conqueror first to show you what has changed from the live version to the testing ground, or from the testing ground version and the live versions to this new version that we're going to be shipping in this new season. So first we have the full block stance. So Conqueror is really known for his full block stance. Very, very useful move. He has a lot of things he can do out of it, but the issue that we have on live right now is that it's a little bit too strong. There's a bit of different things. So we're trying to buff it in a way that makes sense. So the first thing that you can do with Conqueror right now, which is really interesting, is that you can cancel the recovery of any attack. So I can throw out a light, go into superior block, I can throw a heavy, go into full block stance, I can do a side dodge bash into a superior block. You can cancel basically any single one of your attacks into full block very well. So that really helps you catch dodge attacks, helps you react to some people. So that should be really, really interesting. The other thing that's kind of interesting is that before, when you used to block attacks in full block stance, you would get your own stamina drained. So right now I can go into full block and then see I'm blocking attacks and no stamina drain whatsoever. So that should really, really help Conqueror be more defensive in a lot of situations without sacrificing all of his stamina. Next up, we have two new moves. Well, one new and one a little bit less new, but rearranged. So we have Flayed Uppercut. So Flayed Uppercut is now performed whenever you do a shield bash. So you can do shield bash with heavy like this. You can do it off a side dodge. No problem. You can also do it when you superior block somebody. So, Scottish Collection there. Or you can do from a top attack as well. I'm going to superior block while I dodge. Like this, right? So, this attack deals quite a bit of damage. But the beautiful thing is that it's on heavy input and it can execute. So when you're in a 1v1 situation, you want to use it when you superior block people or you hit them with a shield bash to be able to really deal a little bit more damage and execute at the same time, which is one of the top requests we've had from the testing grounds. People really wanted to have that to be able to execute. At the same time, we also have Scottish Collection that we had in the previous testing grounds, which is whenever you superior block an attack and you press light, you go into this full 360 zone that's unblockable, hits everybody around you, has really good trajectories. So you can do it off of any superior block, so off of full block or off of this as well. And the other change that we've done is that you can also do it after any shield bash as well. So the reasoning here is that we wanted the Conqueror to be able to have options for both 1v1 and like group fights when you're outnumbered, so that you can actually start to use your shield bashes and use a bit more of your kit depending on the situation and not be locked, right? So it's always more choice. We want to have a lot more choice for Conqueror to be able to get into those really, really cool, interesting moments and give the hero a lot more strength. We also have the zone attack. So the zone attack has changed a little bit from live. You used to be able to hold it. It had superior block while you were doing it. It was a bit too strong. One of the bigger problems was that if you were facing somebody that would throw an attack, you could zone attack. And if they let the attack go, you would superior block it. If they feinted it and tried to do like a light or a guard break, you would interrupt them with your zone attack. So the only actual solution to it was you always had to do heavy feint parry all the time on it. So we wanted to get rid of that a little bit. So now like a zone attack is just you hit it once, now I'm holding the buttons and it doesn't loop. But in exchange, it deals a bit more damage. So it does 15. And it can also now chain, right? So you can do this into that and you can keep going. So that's super interesting. It initiates chains. You can go into your shield bash and chains, whatever you want to do. So you can actually use it a little bit more offensively now. Speaking of chain bash, so the bash that the shield bash that Conqueror has in chains now is still 800 milliseconds, but the beauty of it is you can now feint it. So you can go into heavy feint bash. So a lot of the complaints that we had, a lot of the feedback that we got from the testing grounds is that Conqueror didn't have enough pressure and offense in 1v1 because that shield bash was not really feintable. It was fast, but it was not feintable. You couldn't really do anything with it. And there wasn't really a mix-up around with it. So this time we made it into like a one full complete move, which is a bash that can feint. So you can do whatever you want with it. It's super strong. And the beauty of it too is that it also goes into Scottish Collection, or it also goes into Flayed Uppercut as well. So all these things mesh together quite well. So that's super interesting. Another thing to note is that Scottish Collection and Flayed Uppercut both chain. They initiate chains, so you can go back into your chains. They don't go into the shield bash because we want to try to avoid having unblockable into unblockable into unblockable for bashes specifically going back to back. So we have that little bit of a limitation. But as you'll see, Conqueror's chain offense is also much stronger. So the next thing we want to look at is the chain heavies. So Conqueror's heavies and chains were a little bit lackluster. They were just infinite, didn't really do much. So now they are always unblockable from every side. Conqueror as an unblockable heavy chain. Now they're all 800 milliseconds. They're really strong. They do 27 damage each. So that by itself should give Conk a lot of pressure. You can use those when you're outnumbered to hit people around you. Super, super, super good. So it's very, very interesting there. For the neutral heavies, now the damage has been normalized. So normally, like on the sides now, you do 24, and on top you do 27. Before Conk had slightly lower damage values, so we really normalized those, so the damage is normalized with the rest of the cast, so Conqueror doesn't deal less damage in this case. When you charge the heavy, so the beauty of it now is that you charge for a lot less longer. When you normally used to charge for 1000 ms for a full second, now you only charge for 600, so it charges much faster. But to compensate, the damage on the attack is actually a little bit lower. It's at 28. It used to be above 30, so that was like a little bit too strong. So with that around, like a Conqueror can still charge. It's a lot easier to charge. You get into those mix-up a little bit easier. You can like start to initiate from external if you don't want to do a bash to feed a lot of revenge. So that works really, really well. The other thing that's super interesting too is that Conqueror can now actually feint his heavies. So you can throw a heavy and feint it. It also applies to the heavies and chains. Previously, Conk could only really feint his heavies into a superior block, right? So you can go to full block stance, you can still do that, but now you can actually do heavy feint guard break and actually do these things. You can do heavy feint into a parry, into whatever you want to do. It works much, much, much better. So that's quite interesting, and it works really, really well. And the last thing I want to point out is that in the last testing grounds, Conqueror we had removed his infinite light chains. We put them back. But we put them back exactly how they were on live, meaning that if you do the same direction, they are still very slow. We wanted to make that change so that Conqueror wasn't really negatively impacted in his minion clear, which was a bit of a problem in the testing grounds. But at the same time, we want to make it a bit easier for some players to react to those infinite lights. It can be kind of overwhelming at lower skill levels to have infinite lights in all three directions constantly. So by doing that, at least you only have to really care about two, because if you use a previous direction, it's a lot easier to block. So that's about it for Conqueror. So next up, we're going to look at Shaolin. All right, so now we have Shaolin after a really nice Conqueror. So for Shaolin, what we focused on quite a bit is key stance. More like an easier access to get the key stance, but also getting better flow for the hero in general when you are in key stance and all that sort of stuff. So let's go into it first of all. So first off, key stance. The lights in key stance are all enhanced. I'm going to do a top light now, and you see it's enhanced. You can do a side light. It's enhanced. Same for the other side. And it's enhanced, right? So they're all now 500 ms, and they're all enhanced. So that should give Shaolin a little bit easier time pressuring people with his lights when he gets into key stance. And as an aside, also the top one also does not stun anymore. The stun property there wasn't super useful. Didn't really give Shaolin anything good, so we decided to remove it. As for heavies in key stance, they are all now 800 milliseconds, and they are all undodgeable. So even top is undodgeable. It used to be unblockable. It was useful in some very, very niche situation, and we decided that it's better to have more consistency on having top and sides instead of having just sides and top be unblockable. Top is often the better option when you're doing undodgeable, because if your opponent dodges, like, because a lot of the times you can dodge and get an accidental block when you're dodging, whereas if it's in top, even if you side dodge, most of the time you're gonna get tagged by it, so that works much, much, much better. We also have Sun Kick. So Sun Kick now chains on miss. So it makes it a little bit safer against guard break. You can do a lot of different things with it, so that's kind of interesting. And it works really, really well. But the next big thing that we've done with Shaolin, which is super interesting, is that all the lights, so either like his lights like this, the heavies, you can do like this, or the Sun Kick Strike, this one, they all chain to the sweep now. So I can go top light into sweep. So every single one of Shaolin's key stance attacks that are done with light or heavy all go to his sweep now. You can't do it after Sun Kick because it wasn't that useful anyway. So we've moved that around a little bit. And so having it after any attacks actually really improves Shaolin's flow, because you can go, wait, I'm going to redo it again. So you can go that into sweep, into another heavy afterwards, that's guaranteed. That also goes back to key stance. So you can, in theory, go completely nuts, go like that, crazy, back into this. So you see the flow that Shaolin has is much, much, much better. When you get into key stance, you can be relentless in key stance and continually attack. As long as your attacks kind of are blocked, you're still good to go, so that's super interesting. And on top of this, that sweep, to make sure that it's effective, it can also be feinted. It's 800 ms, but it can be feinted, so if your opponent is going to dodge, going to try something, you can always feint guard break, and then that guard break leads to a heavy, which leads back to key stance. So the idea is really, we wanted to make key stance really a central point of Shaolin, and to have that as his main source of damage really, really well. The next thing we've done is for his side dodge attacks. So before they were kind of a bit stranded. Whenever you used to do these, they're good. They have good trajectories. They're not that bad. But the problem is that you were kind of stranded. You were kind of stuck there. So now the beauty of it is they can now initiate chains. So you can go into this infinite chain as much as you want. And they can also go into key stance, right? So Shaolin can now dodge an attack with this, go into key stance, go into Sun Kick, go into this, and keep the whole flow going and keep it going again. So it's one of the ways that we want to make sure that Shaolin has an easier way heading into key stance and keeping it going there. And in the same spirit, we've also added another move to Shaolin. A lot of the feedback that we've gotten for Shaolin was that he had a really hard time opening up opponents, even with the top light, which is now enhanced, you can see. Even with that, it wasn't enough. So we've decided to give him this move from Dodge Forward Bash. It's the same kick as he has when he sprints. So it's a little bit different, but at the same time, it's good because it goes to your openers, like you do in Sprint. So you can go into these types of things. So you can use it to open up opponents, go into key stance, again, flow, do the whole thing. So that works super well. It's super interesting. It's a standard type of bash that we have, so it's 500 milliseconds. You do it from 3 to 5 in your front dodge, and it changes to opener, so that's really, really well. As I said before, the top light is not enhanced to in neutral, so that gives Shaolin a little bit more pressure on this one. The side ones, because they get comboed, we really didn't want to give them that enhanced property there, but on top it makes a lot of sense. The other thing that we have on the side lights as well is that you can now mash the buttons to get them. Like, you can't really see it there, but I'm really mashing the light button. It makes the input a lot easier. Before, there was like a lot of timing involved there. We're moving away a little bit from mechanical skill and timing skill for these types of things. So it makes a lot of sense there. And we've also adjusted the damage. So before, when you used to do this, the first hit used to do 5, the second used to do 5, and the last used to do 7. So it kind of backloaded the damage of this. But the side effect of this was that we wanted to do that to make sure that players would actually be encouraged to go deeper into those 3 hits. But the side effect was that you used to spend a lot of stamina for very little damage. So we've changed it so that the first hit does 10, the second is 4, and the third is 4. So it's 18 overall, 1 more than we used to have before. But on top of that, it also front loads damage. So you get 10 plus 4 for 2 hits instead of getting 10. So you're getting 14 instead of 10. It's a lot more in line with the rest of the opener lights. Makes a lot more sense. Works quite well. And last but not least, we have Shaolin Zone. So Shaolin Zone attack was a little bit strange in that, like, if the second hit was blocked or landed, the third hit would always get blocked or always hit. It was kind of hard to understand there. It didn't make a lot of sense. You didn't really have any incentive to go in it. So we've changed it a little bit. So it's a little bit slower, right? So the second and the third hit are slower. The second is 800 and the third is 9. But you can now target swap them in between hits, and we've also improved the damage on them. So the first hit does 12, the second does 15, and the third does 18. The stamina cost has been normalized a little bit among them too, so they're all now 12 damage, 12 stamina rather. And because you can target swap them, it's super useful in group fights. So you can start this on one target swap to another one, target swap to another one. You still can feint at the timing you could before, so it works really well. And we're hoping that this attack is actually going to give Shaolin Zone a little bit more utility. It's much better in the minion lane. We fixed a bug that made it miss on minions, so it wasn't really that good. So that's about it for Shaolin. A big thank you to Francis, who was helping me be my body bag today. So thank you very much. And back to Josh, and we'll keep talking about the following testing rounds. Thank you very much. We're back.
And we are back, Warriors. I'm super excited for these Conk changes and Shaolin changes. JC, do you have any kind of like thoughts on the video? Any kind of like things you want to add?
Yeah, so basically, we're really happy. We listened to a lot of feedback. We gathered a bunch of feedback from a lot of different sources. I know that we didn't have the time. There was like some issues with sending the survey. I've seen some people on social media going out, what happened to the survey for this? So there was a couple of things that were outside of our control that made it so that we couldn't send it. But we're gonna keep sending surveys in the future. It's just that this time we sadly were not able to. But at the same time, we were really able to gather a lot of feedback ourselves on Reddit, on Twitter, on like our official forums, everywhere we normally go. So we were still able to make good decisions based on a lot of feedback that we've received there. I'm super hyped for them. I think both Conqueror and Shaolin feel much better than they used to. They flow better, everything's better, so I'm super hyped for those.
I'm super excited too. When I was playing Shaolin on the testing ground, because he's a hero that I don't really play a ton, but I had a lot of fun, and hopefully I won't be bad at him once he's live. But speaking of testing grounds and stuff like that, we're going to start talking about the next iteration of the testing grounds starting on June 30th, going all the way through July 7th. And as you can see, we're testing guard break, JC. What's going on?
Yeah. So this time, instead of doing like specific hero changes, we went with a more system-wide change that we want to test. And so I'll give you a bit of history on how, like, why we're picking this and where we're going. It's basically right now in For Honor, we have a bit of a problem, right? So when you're outnumbered, it's very, very, very difficult to attack, to defend yourself if you're not very specific characters, right? So Jan Jung, for example, is really good at defending himself offensively, doing like Sifu stance into zone and all that sort of stuff. But we don't really want to give that to everybody. Clearly, like, we want to have a bunch of the heroes that have uniqueness and differences between each other. So one way that we're tackling this is changing the way guard break vulnerability works when you're in recoveries, right? So right now, like I said, it's very difficult to attack when you're outnumbered because you can't reasonably attack generally most of the time because you can get guard broken in between attacks after you do finishers if you don't have a bunch of recovery cancels and stuff. So we really wanted to make sure that everybody can attack a lot more when they're outnumbered to make sure that the game is again more offensive. We've been pushing the game towards a more offensive state where we're trying to encouraging people to attack, to press buttons, to get more engaged and not just sit back and do nothing. So that's one of the big things we're doing. And it's important to note too that this doesn't mean that you can't get interrupted in between attacks, right? You can still get hit by a light, by a heavy, by all sorts of stuff. It just means that normally guard breaks will not be able to hit you in between attacks and after your finishers. It makes it a little bit harder for your opponents to really interrupt you while you're in your chains when you're outnumbered. So that should be pretty cool.
So I'm gonna ask this question. We can cut it if this is a dumb question, but I would imagine that it would also like in terms of ganks, like they would be less punishing, I guess. Like if your guard break stance was,
Yeah. So one of the big things that it does is that when you're getting ganked, like it's more like it's harder to get ganked with this because some ganks start with a guard break in between hits, and so one of the like more generic ganks that a lot of people have is you see somebody doing an attack, you guard break them in between hits. And then you get a heavy, your ally gets a heavy onto your opponent, and that's already like 2 free heavies there super quickly. So with these changes, that guard break will not happen. If you want to throw a heavy in there, you need to time your heavies a lot better. You need to do them way earlier. It opens you up to being able to be hit and interrupted by the trajectories that your opponents have. So you can still do lights. Lights are still relatively fast. But again, even with a light attack, you still need to really like time things really well. That's one of the big things there. So, okay, so let's go over the changes themselves, right? So most attack recoveries are now fully immune to guard break until your hero regains the ability to block. What this means is that on hit, on miss, and on block, you are fully invulnerable to guard break, which means that guard breaks will bounce off of you. So, like, let's say Josh does an attack, I dodge, I hit the guard break. If I hit the window before he's able to block, I'm going to guard break and I'm going to fail and kind of get pushed back a little bit like we have in the game right now anyway. But that's like the big change here. Also, every single chained attack is now fully immune to guard break. Often enough, they had like 100 MS at the beginning, and depending on the attack, it was a little bit more that were immune to guard break. So now chain attacks are fully immune to guard break every time. We want to make sure that there's no holes in your offense there, right? That you can like get a lucky guard break in between or whatever things. And then the last thing we did is that every single bash that had a recovery of less than 766 MS on miss now has 766 MS on miss recovery to ensure that all dodge attacks will always beat bashes. So that's to make sure that because you can't really like side dodge into guard break anymore on anybody, on most heroes, there's some of the really much slower recovery attacks on miss still have some guard break recovery vulnerability because it created other types of issues. But in general, that's what's going to happen. And so at that timing, it means that the slowest dodge attacks are able to hit if you dodge at pretty much every timing, and you can hit and your attacks are going to land. So that's going to be really good. What's interesting here is that we've also added dodge attacks to Highlander right now. So Highlander can do side dodge heavy into defensive stance, right? So that's super cool. We're reusing the animation that he has from his dodge for heavy soft feints. So those work quite well. And it really helps Highlander defend himself against bashes. And the other change that we have in there that's not really listed, but it's a bit more technical, is that Janjung can now go into Sifu stance at the same timing as when he can block while he's in a recovery. So normally you could only go into Sifu stance at the very end after you regain your ability to dodge and everything. But now it's as soon as you can dodge out of something, you can go into Sifu stance, so that Janjung's actual bash punish in chains is to go into Sifu stance and do his own. So we've worked on that to make sure they worked well. From our testing, it worked quite well, so that was super interesting. And the last thing that's super important to note here is that this only applies to hit, block, and miss recoveries. It doesn't affect dodge cancels, full block stance canceled like on Aramusha and Conqueror that has now, Kyochin and whatever. So there is still that element here of risk when you're trying to use those cancels that you can still get broken. It's really only if you let your attack go and you keep chaining, or even if you don't chain but you don't cancel into anything else, that you will be fully immune to guard break. So don't go thinking that I'm gonna like a Conqueror is gonna do a bash, go into down stance, and I can't do anything about it. You can actually side dodge and guard break them and still get the guard break if they read that you were gonna try to do a dodge attack on that. So that's a lot of stuff there. But yeah, so that's interesting. The other thing to note is that we tested a couple different things, right? Because this might seem to be a bit drastic to make everything guard break immune all the time. But we did test a couple of other alternatives, and we wanted to show them to you just to make sure that like people understand why we made these choices, right? One of them is that we tried making recoveries guard break immune on everything except miss, right? Because at some point you're like, okay, well, we still wanted to see if we could keep side dodging to guard break on different bashes and stuff. The problem that we ended up having there is that in For Honor, an attack counts as a hit, block, or miss only on your main locked target and not on external targets. And so let's say I throw an attack at Josh. Josh is too far. And then there's somebody else on the side that my attack hits. My attack is considered to be a miss and not a hit. But it's not very clear, right? There's no indication in game or whatever that you actually hit or miss, because that would be like, it would be a little bit too crazy. So because of those types of situations, it would count as a miss and you could get guard broken in your recovery. And because we need to have that predictability of, I threw an attack, therefore I'm immune. But if I'm only immune in certain situations and not in others, and it's not super clear in what situations you are or not, that feels really, really bad. So we really standardized it to make sure that it was super clear that every time you're in a recovery, you can't get guard broken, and that's the end of it. And the other thing that we've also tried is to make, instead of making yourself guard break fully immune, we tried to make it so that you could tech them instead, right? So being able to tech a guard break while you're in recovery was still good. It's not a bad idea, but the problem is that it still interrupts your chains. If I'm throwing an attack and then somebody lands a guard break, regardless of if I can tech or not, if the guard break lands, it means that even if I tech, I'm still vulnerable to their ally, I'm still vulnerable to a bunch of stuff, and it still stops my chain. And that's something that we really wanted to get away from, to make sure that we had a very, very stable game and that everything worked well, and you didn't have to go, I'm still getting interrupted. We really want to promote that offensive part of the game. So that's kind of it. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that, we really tried a bunch of different things to get to this point, because, as I said, it does sound a bit drastic, but it actually works quite well.
See, JC, this is why the people love you. You come on here with all of your knowledge, you drop it, and we're all now a little bit wiser about the game for it. Like, I actually feel like whenever you come on and anyone on the fight team comes on, I feel like I learn more about the game, just like the technical side, because there's a lot that goes into like the behind the scenes, So thank you for going through all of that. It was awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome, and I hope our viewers appreciate that as well. I think it's a big part of our job to be able to communicate not only the changes we're doing, but why we're doing them as well, and really get into the nitty-gritty of it. And I think it levels up everybody, so that's super cool. So I'm really happy that you like it. I hope everybody else likes it as well. And like usual, we're going to be monitoring a lot of feedback everywhere on Reddit, on like all the usual places. So please leave your feedback. We're going to do our best to send a survey again this time and see where we go from there. But we're really, really looking forward to how this is going to pan out, because we feel that it's a big improvement to the offensiveness of the game and making sure that we can be a lot more offensive. So that's really, really cool.
I'm super excited to see how this guard break changes are going to be on the testing grounds, and also like those other things that you were talking about. This is why we have a testing ground, so we can test things out to see what works, see what doesn't, and then kind of make adjustments accordingly. So just to recap, everyone, we are having a testing grounds starting on June 30th through July 7th. That will go through the guard break changes. Also, we have some changes to like Highlander and all that fun stuff. So definitely get in there, get your like feedback in, because we will be looking at it and obviously talking amongst ourselves. So JC, thank you once again for coming on today to talk about testing ground stuff. And Warriors, do not go anywhere, because we will be right back with the content of the week.
All right, thanks.
What a show, everybody. We want to thank all of our guests who joined us on the Warriors Den today. And we hope you guys are excited as we are for Year 6, Season 2, Curse of the Scarab, starting on June 16th. And keep in mind, along with season launch, we're going to get that event, Justice of the Pharaohs, which will be live June 16th through July 7th. And we've got a new battle pass coming, as well as that super juicy Raider hero skin, Bullthorn the Cursed, that we saw. I am super excited for this. Yeah. It looks so good.
Yeah, I don't like I say this, but like I don't play Raider. Like it's not like my play style. But this skin, like, come on, you can't like look at this and be like, nah. Like that's awesome.
I am absolutely gonna helicopter with the axe, man, with that equipped. It's gonna be so good. And don't forget, we've got a new testing ground starting on June 30th, which will also go through July 7th. And let us not forget, everybody, stick around after the Warriors Den today so that we could check out the story so far for Honor Lore Video, Year 1 through Year 5. It was so awesome to work with not only Era DeLupi and Menacide, but also Patricia Somerset, Estrella's voice actress, on that. It's all around just an awesome project, and we're really excited to show it to you guys. But before we get to that, we've got some content of the week. So Josh, what can players look forward to?
All right, so let's kick it off with a nice little paired emote. This is called Worthy or Not. You can pick it up in the store from June 9th to June 16th for 10k steel. Are they gonna get it? Are they gonna do it? I think they're gonna need something a little bit more hefty to get that sorted out. But like I said, 10k steel for that. And then also we have a unique execution close call. This is for our boy JJ here. Oh, that almost took a little bit off. That was a little bit off the top. And that is actually available starting today, so you can pick that up in the store now for 7k steel. Also, we have a Zhangjun Hero Fest that is starting. This also goes from June 9th to June 16th. You'll be able to try the hero out for free if you don't have them. And then, once you get your play in and you want to, pick them up, you can just 33% off. Look at us looking out for you with the sales and stuff. You can log in, get 2 free symbols, and then also, again, the close call execution, you can pick that up for 7k steel, and that's available until June 9th. So get your steel pockets ready. Also, we have a Slayer challenge. Be the faction with the most takedowns performed. This goes until June 13th. And we also have an arcade quest, the March of the Jormungandr. This is available for Marching Fire owners. This rocks until June 16th. So you can do your Yorm things and your weekly quest things and your content of the week. There you go. There it is. Nice.
What a great show, right? There's so much stuff coming. I'm excited for it. Again, thank you to all of our guests today, for all the devs who showed up, to my number one quirked up white boy JC. And I hope that everyone's as hype as we are for the upcoming Year 6 Season 2 to start. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to follow the channel and follow us on @ForHonorGame on Twitter and @ForHonorGame_US on Instagram, where we post all the best memes. And we'll see you on the next Warriors Den.
Acolytes of Horkos! Today, your new life in the Order begins. But before you are sent on your path, let me remind you of our shared history and of why we fight. It all began over 1,000 years ago. A great cataclysm destroyed the world as people knew it. It was a miracle that anyone survived. 3 factions arrived on the continent, searching for a new beginning. Legions of knights came from a once great empire. They settled in the southwest and called their lands Ashfeld. Viking clans who hailed from the north sailed over and named their claimed territory Velkenheim, a cold and unforgiving realm. The samurai who lost their home to the sea would find refuge in the mire. A dangerous yet beautiful place. They survived where none dared to live. Resources were scarce. Everyone would try to stay alive in this shattered world, which of course would lead to war over its last shards. For a millennium, the factions fought for survival, for territories, for honor, for their people. But over time, the world grew quieter. The factions stayed behind their borders, like cowards. Their people became weak. But one woman changed that. The first of us. The one who would start a new age. Apollyon. Knowing of humanity's true nature, she and her Blackstone Legion would rekindle the flame of war once more by bringing each faction to their limits and freeing the wolves of this world. Even though she had fallen in her attempt, she still succeeded. Her sacrifice will never be forgotten. In time, an army of invaders marched into Heathmoor from the east. That would bring even more contenders to the battlefields. Emperor Gao Lei and his Wu Lin. After waging a civil war in their own homeland, they would finally set their sights on our lands. When rumors of a new cataclysm began to spread, all wished to be victorious in the war as quickly as possible, so they could ready themselves for what was to come. Even though they were once hated pariahs, the factions allied with powerful warriors of unchallenged ambition and talent. Their leaders would become known as the Harbingers. The omens of doom were seen all across Heathmoor. The earth began shaking. Mount Ignis spat fire, and waves rose high and crushed those who dared to stand in their way. In this chaos, I saw an opportunity and sent the remnants of the Blackstone Legion to Kiang Pass to retrieve something for me. Things grew complicated when Sundar, the Zhan Yu, used his secret weapon, the Arcanite Fire, in a desperate attempt to defeat us. But he failed, and now serves the Order as I see fit. After all the battles and disasters came an abrupt and sudden silence. The earth went quiet, the waves lulled, and warriors would once again have their minds clouded by thoughts of peace. They looked at the world in a new, revolting way. And so, the undeserving hypocrites began to take over once more. Resources were abundant. There was enough for everyone, so they said. Words of the weak, of cowards who grew lazy and apathetic. Eventually, 4 faction leaders, Lady Gabrielle, Ling the Tiandi, the Kensei Tadeo, and Jarl Leot would meet in Wyverndale, a meadow where once stood a great city, destroyed in the cataclysm. There, they signed a truce. In the years that followed, too many were convinced by the lies of peace. They would hold festivities called the Honor Games. Warriors would mock fight each other for nothing more than sport and entertainment. It was an insult to the great warriors of old. But their blinding happiness would be of great use to us. While they entertained themselves, I sent my warmongers out into the world and traveled to distant lands to bring the truth to warriors like you. The ones who knew that there was more to life than growing old and being forgotten after death. When the knights held mock battles to celebrate Apollyon's fall in her own castle, I decided to put an end to these shameful festivities myself. The Shard would be freed of the vermin that had the audacity to set foot in it. With us, we brought a gift. The sacred stone of Horkos. And with it, we cleansed Heathmoor of the evil which spread across the lands. After the Great Purge, we established our order. A continent-wide regime with the closest allies ruling over their respective factions and lands. Yato, the White Ghost, was in command of our stronghold in the Mire. Gretar, the Blue Serpent, led the Vikings. And Erzabet, the Carmine Queen, would watch over a great forge in Ashfeld with the assistance of Fu Huo, the Violet Flame. The new world we long craved was about to become reality. But even after our victory, there yet remained warriors who opposed us. These people worked together and staged a rebellion. The first of them was an Aramusha named Gomon, who dared challenge us. During an attack on Yeto's fortress, Gomon and his rebels freed a blacksmith named Ilma from imprisonment. Ilma is a former member of the Makers Guild, a group of artisans that remained neutral in the war and provided all factions with tools and weapons as means of payment. We attempted to recruit her, but she was too stubborn. She refused, and instead assisted the rebellion. With her help, the rebels made use of what our order calls Draconite. This blacksmith forged weapons with it, in its purest form. Many among them, including powerful scythes. With these, the rebels were able to push us out and claim some land once again. It was a dark time for our order. But even after these losses, the rebellion still posed no real threat to us. Not until they found a leader who would unite them. Holden Cross, or Griffin as he calls himself today, came back from his long travels as a mercenary. He is a former member of the Blackstone Legion, and above all, a traitor to Apollyon. Having chosen a new name, he offered to lead the rebellion. Under the Griffin's wings, the rebels united and became a powerful force. The Chimera Alliance. Many of them are wolves, misguided by false promises and appalling beliefs. The day came when our armies would face each other. The Battle of the Eclipse. Tens of thousands of warriors on each side fought without break. Weeks of fighting, filled with glory and pain, honor and death. A momentous battle. One I will forever remember. In the years after the Battle of the Eclipse, we slowly regained strength and filled our ranks by inviting many warriors, like you, to the masquerades. Unfortunately, many others were also drawn to the Alliance, who held their own events. While our warriors would earn their place by fighting and proving their worth, these sheep held a banquet hosted by the greatest coward in history, Hervis Daubeny, another despicable betrayer. Alas, the time for celebrations would end when a drought struck Heathmoor. We heard of a secret water source in the mire and sent warriors there to secure it. And, as expected, the Alliance did the same. The soldiers were most surprised when they discovered a hidden samurai temple. In this temple, they met the Kyoshin, fighters who held no allegiance to anyone but the balance of nature itself. After their temple was destroyed, some even picked sides in this war. When all thought the drought would never end, the desperate among them prayed to their gods and made sacrifices. The Vikings prayed for water, and in their eyes, their gods finally listened. Through the drought's heat, the glaciers of Velgenheim melted. Water flooded the lands, and a powerful storm was approaching. A great tempest. Many of you lost homes and loved ones to the currents, whirlwinds, and landslides. But yet, here you are still. The strongest and bravest. Once the seas settled and the storm passed, many warriors found themselves lost and alone. Winter set in, and countless used it as a time of respite. They left the battlefields to reunite with their friends and families. And I would allow it, only briefly. The warriors required a break to regain their strength. My loyal wolves had earned theirs. And lastly, not long ago, Bu Yin, the Pirate Queen, landed on our shores. Even though she is not one of us, I will recognize that she is an outstanding warrior. I once fought alongside her many years ago. If she won't join our cause, then I know she and her fellow pirates will make for worthy foes. Now, it is time. Venture out into the world. Spread the truth and save this world from peace. In this, you will find glory!